Well, Gildo, we have a lot of students, I believe, in the audience from the Central St Martin's School and the London College of Fashion.
Beautiful.
Can you hold up your hands?
Thank you for the talk. I just want to ask about how do you gonna approach the millennials, in this digital era
Okay.
and the technology. What kind of approach? What's the plan for Zegna brand?
Okay, that's a great question. So what's your approach for the millennials in the digital age? You talked about the omni-channel that your son Eduardo is
Do you mind
involved
if Edo answer the question?
Poor Eduardo.
I rather have a millennial reply to no. Edo, no, please. Do you mind, Alan? Since you are family, no, give the microphone to him. No, and then. This is very democratic, you know, from father to son.
Lesson
and
in
then
succession.
I will support his
I hope
his
so.
answer.
Okay, so
No,
Eduardo, what are the challenges?
What do you recommend to do in order to meet the challenge?
It's a cop-out, his answer.
It's a monkey, you know.
No, it's definitely a challenge, and it's a completely new world where people and customers are not attached to any brand in particular, and so they need to find what is more emotional to them. I think brands like ours are very rational in many ways. So they're linked to craftsmanship, they're linked to fabrics. There are very few emotions attached to a brand like Zegna. And so I think one of the priorities to get closer to the millennials is actually become way more emotional in the way they approach the customer and the way they speak about the customer. Definitely, 5 years ago, for any company in the world, everything was physical, so you could control any image of any touch point that the brand had with their customer. Today we have a cloud above us that's called digital, and so if the brands have the same people that were managing those sort of departments. So 5 years ago, they risk of not knowing what's happening upstairs. And so they need to definitely trying to find a thread between all touch points that the customer has. And so, today we don't even know in Europe what WeChat is, but WeChat will probably come to us and be a big competition of Facebook and all the other big social media. So, yeah, I have no answer. If I had one, I would do something else. But I think it's definitely an intriguing challenge, and companies definitely need to move and change, because if not, I think they will all die, basically.
I would add one thing. I think that we should do a better job to explain what we are and what we do. Because I think that there are many activities that we do that could make us look different for the better, even to millennial. Because millennial have a great interest to understand the origin of the product. We talk about the subject of sustainability. You want to know every single detail on where the product comes from, how the product is made, why do you do this, why do you do that, and I think digital will help us. We cannot have hundreds of thousands of millennials visit our organization. I would love to. But I think that digital will help us achieving that aim. And I think that we are much more modern than probably most of you think. We might look traditional, as usually a masculine brand ought to look like. But I think that many ingredients differentiate ourselves, and digital will help communicate to the millennial much more than a store, a Zegna store can do, or maybe a Zegna employee can do. So I think that his language, your language, if translated via digital, can be of an extremely strong voice. Because at the end, I think that the product, if a millennial tries on a product, I think that he or she will enjoy it and will come back. Okay, maybe you might be, a a barrier with the price initially. But I think once you try and you understand what's behind the product and how you enjoy the product, the performance, the comfort, the feeling, I think that then you might change your mind, or you might get close to our brand. And I might say that one of the good things about emerging markets, new markets, there are no barriers. You go to some of those countries, in particular China, you've got, it's not only in Palo Alto, you've got youngsters in their late 20s, early 30s that made a fortune, and they can afford any product they wish. And I see the fact that we have a project that I'm very proud of, and it has to do with personalization, that we can practically provide the customer what he or she wants in every item we create. And so giving that feeling to the person, to the youngster that can afford it, of course, to create his or her own product, I think that is quite important. And so it's more a question of approach than of substance, to be honest with you. And as I said, digital will be the new music for us, and I'm glad that the new generation is approaching that. And Edo, speed up. It's up to you.
Well, you had the answer both from the father and the son, a very comprehensive answer. You were very lucky. Any other questions from the audience, please? Yes, the gentleman here.
You mentioned Chester Barry, and there are many strong fashion houses that now no longer exist, or are now a shadow of what they were. Just looking at those, would you say that it's more often a failure of design, of the aesthetic, or a failure of financial management?
Very good question. I was having breakfast this morning with a very well-known British fashion journalist, and he asked me the same question, so I can repeat what I told him this morning for breakfast. No, truly, unbelievable. I mean, spot on. I think it's a lack of investment. I think a business, regardless of what business you are in, has to be nurtured. In terms of capital investment, in terms of technology, and in terms of talent. I think that those family or those people did not believe enough in their business, and at the end they found themselves, that the business with rust, to be honest with you. And so I think that is more financial and ambition to grow the business than a product, because they died with a great product. I still own a Chester Barry suit, and it's as good as ours, with a heavier fabric. But in terms of make, chapeau. I mean, my father learned from them how to put a canvas handmade suit together, and so that's the. And second, which is linked to the first, is a distribution network. Zegna is 85% export-driven. Most of the French companies, most of the Italian companies are from 70 to 90, 95%. So I think that they've been sitting too much on their laurel, or on their local British laurel. I mean, to wait the customer to come to them. Go to them, get to know the brand, and then wait, they come back. And so I think this is what they've not done.
We have time for one last question. They're just there in the blue shirt.
So, touchy question. How much can you share with us on the selection process for next generation leader? Is he going, or is she going to be a member of the Zegna family, or could he or she be an outsider? And I would understand that it is a touchy question in front of your son.
You have the succession.
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 The succession process has started already. Edo joined us 1 year ago. My nephew joined a few months ago. But I think that Paolo and I have put a governance, some rules, because if you don't put rules, not everybody, just because his name is Zegna or whoever, can work in the business. So I think that the passion is number one prerequisite. I think the admission process, we have the independent, we have the compensation committee, that one of the responsibility is to interview the young generation member that wish to join, and has to do so after the HR director has interviewed him, as he or he does for every other youngster to be admitted. And then he has to start the usual process. So first of all, go step by step. And I think the meritocracy is something which is very important. We go the American way. You do well, you move further. You don't, and it's going to be trickier, for young family members to do that. But if you fail, you have to pay. I mean, that's these rules. So at least the one, maybe if I can spend 2 more words, it's interesting because what we have created, it's a young committee of the next generation, and one of the most important job of Paolo, my cousin, the chairman of the company, is nurture the committee and making sure rules and regulations are followed for the young member to serve well a shareholder, because I think that shareholders have duty and rights. And second is how to prepare themselves in case they decide to join Zegna. And so we invite outside eminence gris in the family business to talk to them and to support them, because often they hear more what the outsider have to say than what me and my cousin have to say, which I remember I was the same, and so I think that all these are form and practical regulation to prepare the generation to approach a business or to approach any other endeavor. So, getting to your question, the answer is no. I hope, my hope is that one of the next generation will become so. I can tell you that I will go home at 68. I'm the one who has put an age limit to the board. I think that is very important. We cannot be sitting in the board in our 80s with operative roles, and so I created a rule that has been approved by the board, which the CEO goes home at 68, the president goes home at 73, and the independent go home at 75, the American way. And I think it's right. So, I've got another close to 10 years.
20? I thought another 20 years.
Close to 10 years. He laughs because he knows my age, So that I've been lying. I would say 80 years. But to answer your question, yes, I've started thinking of my succession in the interest not of the family but of the business. And we have another strong saying in Zegna, which I like very much, which reads, strong family make strong businesses make strong family, which wonderful. I think is a very